Good evening, all. Hey, hey, hey. It is, what is it? Tuesday, right?
Yeah, it's Tuesday. Happy Test Tuesday, guys.
That's right. And was there a test yesterday or today?
The test was actually today, so for all the juniors out there throughout
Ah,
the world, we had our SAT test today, and then I know we've got the ACT test on Saturday.
oh my gosh. It's a
So
world of testing this week. Now,
it is.
I don't know this. This is something I don't know. Can anyone at any age level take ACT or SAT, or do you have to be a high school level?
No, actually, there's a really interesting story
Mm-hmm.
about a 9-year-old in Naperville that scored almost perfect. He scored 35 on his ACT.
Get out.
Yep. And actually, if you're scoring well when you're younger, you can actually get selected. Several of the colleges have gifted programs. So
Yeah.
if someone scores really well um, earlier than high school, say middle school, most of the time people start doing it at middle school.
Yeah.
I actually worked with a student. I didn't work with him on ACT, but I
Mm-hmm.
worked with him on prepping him for AP chemistry. He was
Mm-hmm.
12 years old. He was in middle school and high school and had gotten a 34 on his ACT.
Get out. Did he really get it or he guessed?
No, he got it. I mean,
Wow.
one of the things that I really want to emphasize, Mary, just for everyone
Uh-huh.
that's out there, is that with ACT and SAT, you can really plan for that success. So
Okay.
I know you've got all the material from NCAA about how to
Right.
plan academically, right? That
Right,
we're going to
right,
go over since your freshman year. There's
right.
different requirements to make sure you're hitting all the academic benchmarks. In a similar fashion, we've really got to plan as athletes to really be successful on that ACT and SAT.
Wow, what a great idea. And we've talked about that before, developing a blueprint, et cetera, which I really think we should talk about more on another one because
Absolutely.
I would like to really step on, I would like to really get some really great points on that and really share that with everyone because I think
Yes,
you're dead on because not every program is fully funded where they're going to give you a full ride all the time.
exactly.
So you have to have some backup plans. And that would be a great
Backup plans
backup
are
plan.
good.
Yeah, yeah, they are. Well, cool. Well, one thing I want to talk about is this little flyer I give out to everyone. It's made up by NCAA. And I'll pull it up on the screen so you can see it better. But it's a great little pamphlet. I don't know. I'm going to have to give some to you to give out to your people you talk with. But it's a great little
Yes.
pamphlet. And the best thing about it, it has some great, great tips in it. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen here, and we're going to actually look at it real fast. So it's easier to see on the screen. So this is actually it right here. It's up on the screen. It kind of gives you what you need to do for 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th grade. Isn't that great?
That is awesome.
And now we need to do that for ACT and SAT, don't we?
We do. That is in the works.
Okay, good, because I didn't even think about that. It's a really good idea. I'm concerned about them making sure they are doing all these things here because a lot of times these kids, like math and the additional English and the social sciences, they don't think about that when they need to take them for the different divisions. And what
Right.
happens is these kids end up taking night schools or summer school to fulfill the division.
Oh, that's a hot mess.
That is a hot mess.
I mean, if you're an athlete too, that's valuable time that you could be, training
Exactly.
your body. And then I know something we've got to talk about too, in
Hmm.
another call I know is just building that resume. So you've got to be doing some sort of leadership or volunteer work. And so if
Exactly.
you're taking classes in the summer, unfortunately, that you don't need to take if you plan properly.
Exactly, exactly. And that's what I want to make sure that we get out to everyone. And they have a really easy thing. 4 times 4 is 16. You need 16 core classes to get you through. That's pretty simple. I think every freshman in high school that's going to play sports need to have this. Even though it's available and online, they still need to have it. And so I think we'll make sure we get out to our people. But one thing I really
Sure.
want to talk about was this. So let's get into the meat and the potatoes here today. Okay.
Yes.
A lot of kids don't realize that they have to have a certain ACT and SAT and GPA to qualify to play in college. If they don't, they get what's called redshirted. See that red area right down here?
Yep.
If they're redshirted, that means They can suit up, they can practice, they can't touch the field.
Oh man, as an athlete, that's got to be one of the worst places to be.
And
Because you
everyone,
get to see the game going, but you're on the sidelines.
right. And everyone knows you're a red shirt that's on the team, so they're saying, hey, you didn't make the grade. Literally. Literally.
Oh no, wow.
Yeah, so let's talk about these. Okay, so
Sure.
here we go. Up on here, it's a sliding scale. Okay.
Yes.
So if they're getting a GPA of 3.5 and SAT reading and math, so that's only the two scores they. Okay, tell me. Okay, when they score SATs?
Yes.
400, is that good or is that bad? I thought that was bad.
Right. What they're doing here, Mary, is they're only adding together the reading and the math. So this is actually, I mean, this is a very bare minimum requirement here. I mean, we really want to see 1300s, 1400s, 1500s to get full merit scholarships to open those doors. But in this sense, what they're doing is they're taking in reading. So we know it's a 1600 scale, right?
Correct.
So what happens on the SAT is they take your critical reading and your writing, and each of those has 400 points. And they put that together, and that's 800 points. And then the math on the other side is 800 points between the no calculator and the calculator. So really what we're seeing here is they're just taking the critical reading score, which is going to be 400 points maximum. Yeah. And they're taking the math, which would be 800 points maximum. And they're saying you've got to get at least a third of those points in order, if you have a 3.55, in order to stay in compliance with the NCAA.
Well, in reality, that's very easy. If you have a 3.55. Right? This, I think, over here on this side is where the meat and potatoes gets kind of scary, right?
Right.
Because let's say you aren't doing that well as a GPA, and your GPA is a 2.7.
Right. Then we've got to see the scores increase.
Yeah. That's
so it's almost like if we start missing the ball in one area, at least we have the opportunity to go make it up in the other area, but that's going to be a lot more pressure on the actual test.
Well, that's what I was saying. So if let's say you're not doing really well at school, you're just only getting a 2.7, which is not the greatest. We all know that. But then they're forcing you to get a higher score on your test. So like you said, they're kind of saying test better if you get lower grades. If you get higher grades, your testing, it kind of is like that. So your testing doesn't have to be as high. If your GPA is 3.5, your testing can be average. But if your GPA is 2.7 down here, your testing better be above average.
Well, if you see here too, the score on the SAT goes up to 1600, and the SAT, everyone's taking that at the public schools now. So if you have that high GPA, you only need a fourth of the points from the SAT to be compliant. And then of course we want a much higher score to get the scholarship and school choice. Exactly. But to just stay compliant. But then if we go down here, you can see you've got to get at least half of the tests if you have a lower GPA. Now here's one of the things, Mary.
I wanted to see D2. Go ahead. You keep talking. I'm going to go down here D2.
Sure. One of the things also that we see is a lot of times there's a correlation between your GPA and how you do on the test. So that's where, even though and some people are better test takers, that's true. Right. But for the most part, if you're successful in the classes, we're going to see you be more successful on the test. Correct. Because you're going to have more mastery of material, most likely.
Right.
That does put you into, like you said, the meat and potatoes, and that puts a lot more pressure on student athletes that have the lower GPA.
Yeah, it does. It does. And I don't think they realize that.
Right.
I don't think they do. Now here, this is D2. D2 is not always fully funded programs. Okay. A full qualifier sliding scale. Okay, so what they're meaning by full qualifier, let's go down here and see if they define it. I don't think they do. Basically, a full qualifier is that sometimes D2s give out full amount for their athletic money. Okay. So let's say it's $40,000 to go to that school. All they can give you is 20,000 in athletic. So a full qualifier would be they would get the 20,000. A partial would be they get any part of that partial. So let's say you're going to a D2, there's 20 kids on the team, and they want to go ahead and split up money. They could go 1,000, 2,000, 5,000, 10,000, 15,000. If your scores are better, as you see here, they're going to give you more money.
Right.
As a full qualifier. So here it's kind of the same thing. And except for
I see the SAT score is going up as that GPA goes down.
Exactly. So it's kind of the same thing, which is interesting, again, because usually the kids that are doing lesser GPAs are having a hard time on the testing.
That's true.
So it's kind of,
I see some exceptions to that.
yeah.
Where, we have students that for whatever reason, they're very smart, they're very bright, but perhaps their study skills aren't as developed as they could be. And so maybe, they're so busy with, something I think is a whole nother call as well as just time management as an athlete.
Yeah.
It's already hard enough as a student to balance everything. But now if you're really trying to perform at your peak level as an athlete, I mean, we talk about it all the time, Mary. It's the new athlete.
That's right.
Really the new athlete, it's not just about if you can perform on the field. They want that whole package where, you've got the academics, you've got the leadership, you've got the volunteer. I mean, I even saw one of the posts that was really interesting that I saw and I really liked in your group, Mary, that you were talking about is the social media. Your brand.
Yep.
So all you guys that are students out there that are athletes, the schools are looking at your brand and they're saying, are you a good fit for what we want to have as a brand?
Exactly. And I think that's really such great information because you now have, like you said, I call it the new athlete. I call it the athlete it's no longer. There are so many young athletes out there that are playing. You got to set yourself apart. And so this right here is a way for them to set themselves apart by getting better test scores. And then doing all the other things you talked about. So here's a question for me to you. So let's say I am a student, an average student, and I'm only getting a 3.15, and I need to get above, that 460 in reading and math, but maybe I want more money. Is that something that you can actually do? Is help these kids get their, ACT and SAT higher? Can you actually help them do that?
Absolutely. Right now we're working with a student where she has an offer from a school, so she's going to go to that school. But at this point, with her SAT, she just needs to get her score. She's actually can get up to a full ride in scholarships. So we've been pushing that score up together, working through. There's a combination, Mary, of strategies. There's some really solid test strategies that students can incorporate that can really raise their score. And then also, looking at some of the skills, building some of the skills. Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah.
Can you hear me now? Mary?
Matt, can you hear that?
I can hear that. That's crazy. It sounds like an alien.
Hang on, Matt.